David Walker joins us to talk about LaMelo Ball. We're going to start our player recaps. Who better to start with than the star of the Charlotte Hornets? That's today on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
We're Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your pods, and that includes YouTube. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. You can download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. David Walker joins us, the Duke of Dunk, today. We always appreciate his presence. Going to help us to kick off the player recaps. LaMelo Ball going to start us off. We'll get to all of the players that are on the roster right now. And then who knows who's going to come to us in the NBA draft. We'll start to preview the draft as the offseason goes on as well. David, you excited to kick off some LaMelo Ball conversation?
Absolutely. I appreciate you bringing on for LaMelo Ball, the star of the team, and you know, some of the lesser known guys you guys can handle on your own. But hey, the Duke of Dunk, that's the dunk, the shoe, right? We're still playing on that. I mean, I have dunked before, but it's been quite some time.
Well, that's something that's new information to me. I didn't know you could dunk. I mean, we've been doing this show all these years. You never told me you could dunk. But
yeah,
yes, I was referring to the
Walker
shoe.
Was born, so it's been a while.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, when is the last time you actually completed a dunk? What year?
1997.
Oh, okay. I was 5 years old. Yeah, so right. I was born. Okay, so I was the Duke of the Hyper Dunk. That was my favorite basketball shoe. That's what I have right now. So you can
That's a good one.
You can go with that. You can also check out Doug's work on his Substack, everyhornetsboxscore.com. Check me out on WFNZ Sports Radio 92.7 FM every weekday from 12 to 3. So let's dive into it. LaMelo Ball, awful season with the injuries, but also offensively show just how much he means to this team. The numbers when he was on the floor offensively were staggering, and the numbers for this team offensively when he was not on the floor were as bad as any team offense in the NBA. Defensively, not so good when LaMelo was on the floor, and so we learned that this year, just how much he still needs to improve. We came into the season wanting more free throw attempts. Didn't really happen. He jumped from 3.2 to 3.4 free throw attempts just this season. Did increase his scoring average to 23.3. Field goal percentage went down, but 3-point field goal percentage, it went down a little bit, but on a lot higher volume. The guy's still a bona fide shooter. I think we all feel very good about what LaMelo Ball can do there. Doug, we'll start with you because I know you're the cleaning the glass man, bringing up some of the advanced stats for us. What do you see there?
I mean, you really don't even need advanced stats to sort of understand what he did this season. You do need some context in that he was dealing with injuries, both sort of relevant, but also lingering injuries as well. But 23 points per game, 6.4 rebounds per game, 8.4 assists per game. You know, field goal percentage is probably the overall field goal percentage probably not where he wants it to be, but the 3-point field goal percentage was solid, almost 38%. His points per shot attempt, you can see here in the cleaning the glass graphic, takes a dip this season. But it's not, again, I think there's a lot that goes into that. You know, this season was all about injuries, 4 ankle injuries in total, 3 left ankle sprains. You had the right ankle fracture that eventually ended his season. And then it was also reported that he's still dealing with a little bit of the lingering effects of the wrist injury. So the big question for me, you know, heading into this next season is how quickly can he get healthy? Can he get healthy? 100%. But can he quickly get healthy enough where he can salvage some of his offseason and start to make some improvements that he wanted to make, I think, in this offseason and heading into this season in order to, you know, elevate his game from all-star to all-NBA.
David, what were some of your thoughts on LaMelo Ball's season, the few games that he did play?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the theme of it was the injuries, and he just could not get and stay healthy. And that's the biggest question now. And now that is a question, right? That's the unfortunate part. The perception for a lot of people is probably that he can't stay healthy, which is unfortunate when you have a young star who kind of leads your team out there. So that was the big takeaway and will be the overarching theme for LaMelo Ball this season. I mean, you look at his play on the court, like you guys mentioned, Doug pulled up those stats. You saw the scoring ability jump. I think you saw his potential to be a lead scorer on the team was obviously there. the free throw attempts are the big key, right? That's what's going to unlock him to make that next leap. I mean, and just to tell people how important those are, you've got guys in the NBA averaging 30 points a game, which is where, for LaMelo to take that jump to be like superstar. You've got Luka. He averages 10. Dame averages 10. Shea averages 10. Like, all of these guys average about 10 free throws a game and thus make about that many. And so that's the key for him. Not getting to the line as much just really leaves a lot of points out there for him. And I think that's one of the next steps that he can take, right? I mean, I think you saw it a little bit this year. It's just so hard to make a judgment with so few games played, but it felt like he was trying, to deal with the fouls that weren't being called as much and trying to get there a little bit more when he was out
and
there.
Getting
healthy.
Frustrated and fouling as a result and fouling out of games because he was frustrated by that. Can I make one counter to, because I do agree that he needs to get to the free throw line more. But I think we can sort of go overboard on it and say, well, he needs to get to that SGA or James Harden level. He doesn't need to get to that level of getting to the free throw line. He just needs to do it a little bit more. What the Hornets, and the reason he only needs to do it a little bit more is because he makes such a huge impact in terms of his passing and playmaking that he doesn't need to score, an amazing amount of points every night. And so what the Hornets need to do is surround him with players that when he does play make can actually finish plays. And also it would help if they could find a dominant scorer type to play alongside of him that can get to the free throw line a little bit more to kind of counterbalance that.
That would be great. I just think under 3 free throws a game for him is
right. It's got to be more.
That's unacceptable. Yeah.
Well, and for me, I'll split the difference. Yeah, it doesn't need to be 10 because you're talking about the best free throw line getters in the league. But also when you're talking about LaMelo, 3.4, it's pretty small. Like, give me 6. I'd like to split the difference there. And with LaMelo, your usage percentage can't be as ridiculously high as it is and not get to the free throw line all that often, right? Like, so for me, I would like to see a significant increase. Again, we don't have to go to the SGA level, but I do want to see a significant increase. And the thing is, I do think LaMelo has that ability, even if he doesn't have the blow-by speed. He has enough handle. He has enough of the SGA, if we want to use that example, herky-jerkiness, where, he can get there. He can kind of freeze you with some hesitations and then get to the lane. And that's where the passing can also come in. We know his assist percentage is absolutely ridiculous. So I would like, if you have the basketball in your hands constantly, then you are the offense, which is clearly what it was when he was on the floor this year. LaMelo Ball was the offense. So you need to get to the free throw line more for sure. The other thing I wanted to point out is it's interesting. You look at LaMelo, just so people don't look at the stats and get things misconstrued. Maybe I'm just talking to no one here, but the turnover percentage for LaMelo, it's actually quite high. But the thing is, if you look at the Charlotte Hornets, the team turnover percentage with him on the floor, it's in one of the top percentile. And it's because it's one of those things where the usage percentage is so high. LaMelo is just accounting for all of the team turnovers, which is totally fine because you want him to have the basketball in his hands, right? So if we want anybody trying to play make for anybody else, we'll just give it to LaMelo. And you want him, pushing the envelope on some of these passes, trying to fit it in tight windows for guys that are cutting. And so that's another thing that proves when he's on the floor, other guys reap the benefits because clearly he's the best ball handler, best point guard, guy that can make things happen offensively on all areas of the court.
Yeah, I think with the turnover situation, definitely you're okay with him trying to make a play, trying to fit it into a place that we know that he could fit it in, and then sometimes it doesn't work out. I think as he matures and learns to, manage games a little bit better, he'll eliminate some of the turnovers that I think are, again, rooted in frustration. He gets frustrated by the foul situation or by his shot not going in, and then he starts to really force the game a little bit in some of these games. I did want to, we can celebrate LaMelo Ball and how well he played, especially towards the end of his season, right before he had that ankle injury. I just had his trend line for his game score pulled up here on Cleaning the Glass, and you can see this little blip here that goes way above his season average and position average. he was killing it in that period, right? Those 5 games, including the game against Detroit where he got injured, he was working on, I think he had 15 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and 5 3-pointers in the first half of that Detroit game. This is a stat from Hornets.com. He became the 8th player in NBA history to record 5 3-pointers and 10 assists in a 5-game span between February 13th and the 27th when he had the ankle injury, joining Steph Curry, Luka Doncic, James Harden, Damian Lillard, Gary Payton, Russell Westbrook, and Trae Young. And he's the second youngest player to do so other than Trae Young. So, I mean, he was absolutely exploding, and it really is a shame that he fractured his ankle because we were watching LaMelo Ball start to blossom. I don't know what this season would have become. I think they probably still would have missed a play-in opportunity, but we were starting to see him really get into a groove.
Well, and just with the split, right, you're going with just at the very end. I'll go with the 3 games in January that he played, and then all of February. He played every single game in February, not a game in March. So that's just so happens to be the time he got hurt. So after he missed those 3 contests with PJ Washington landing on his foot, LaMelo shot almost 39% from 3 on 10 attempts per game in that 14-game stretch that he had. Just if we want to celebrate him, the shooting is the clear thing to go to. Oh, and it's an extremely important thing to go to, especially for your point guard that can also facilitate, right? Like he's not just and nobody's blaming him for this or calling him this, but it's not like just a Rondo or someone where you're only facilitating and you're a liability from the outside. The guy is a problem. And that's what's awesome to see with him on the floor, being able to kill you from the outside. But also when he does drive, you can see from all angles to pass it to the corner and give us some of these ridiculous assists that he's been known to get.
Yeah, and I don't think that attempts from 3 would necessarily go down if he started going to the line just a little bit more. I mean, we've seen it, guys. He missed, or there were missed calls for him. There are opportunities that he's not getting to the line. I hope that once he figures out how to be a little more crafty, how to maybe sell it a little bit more, how to maybe not get so frustrated. Again, we've talked about it in the season. I don't think he's showing up the refs or anything like that. He's trying to figure it out, right? He's actively, even in game, going to the ref and be like, now, why wasn't that one a foul? I got hit in the face. Why aren't these fouls? So I think the 3-point, I don't think that's going anywhere regardless, right? That's clearly a big part of his game. And that's not something that anyone, I think, especially coming out of the draft, certainly right off the bat, thought that he would be that efficient or that big a weapon for this team or in the NBA shooting the 3-pointer. No way. So 10 attempts, as you said, jumped up. I mean, that about doubles what he did in his rookie year. So I think that's staying there. I think he's going to continue to work on that. Got to get stronger. I mean, he just has to get stronger. Hopefully that will help out a little bit with the injuries. And he's a young guy. So when you're talking about the injuries, you just hope he kind of works his way through that. But I mean, yeah, plenty to celebrate with LaMelo Ball returning back to Charlotte next year and continue to build and maybe lead this team. It's going to be super interesting to see how he, it'll be a 4th year next year, how he leads that team, if he takes the reins, if he turns into more of a vocal leader. So that's something to look forward to, and we'll just have to see.
All right, let's continue this conversation coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Sleep on the Hornets just yet.
We'll talk about what's next for LaMelo and just continue to shed light on how awesome he is, but also defensively, what he can improve on there as well. That's all still to come. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. You can forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. You can get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and even more than that. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Get images of your seat too before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. You can buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps, and then you're set. Tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through your email. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Still more to come. Locked On Hornets
is Locked On Hornets.
Are we sure that everyone interprets a handful as 5?
I think so. Honestly,
I would say a handful is normally 5, but
I would agree.
4 is acceptable.
I'm going to hold 5 things in my hand. Look, 1, this is a pen, a book. I got a phone. Yeah, you guys are actually right. It's getting pretty full.
Yeah, I know.
Here's a cable. 5.
Okay, that's 5. That's 5.
And here's
All
a
right,
coffee cup.
What else?
It's time for more of the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Real quickly, wanted to mention one other thing about the shooting as we continue to celebrate that part. If you look, you mentioned it was going to be his 4th year, David. If you look at the last couple of seasons, right? So he did shoot right at 39% just last season in his All-Star year, or 2 years ago, I guess now. And then this past year, he shot 37.6. If he gives us another season like that, where, he's shooting 38% on, I don't know, maybe 8, 9 attempts or more per game, then he's going to be, already just bona fide 3 straight years as one of the best shooters in the league, where we're talking about elite, though. Like, it's not just, oh man, no, he's really good. It's surprising. I didn't expect that. He is in a, tier 1. If you give us 3 straight years of that, then you're going to be in a tier 1 of shooters where, clearly there's Steph, even Damian Lillard can go for some nuclear seasons like that, just as far as usage, different kind of 3-point shots that you can pull up from. But it'll be pretty daunting territory, right? Like, that's a scary man from beyond. And it already is true now. But like, once we get a 3rd straight year of stats like that, there's nobody that's going to be there. There's not going to be too many people that are better than you.
Yeah. And as they continue, hopefully, to add talent around him, that playmaking is just going to improve. He's already one of the best passers in the world, in my opinion. So, he's just going to continue to grow. They've got to add guys around him, build through the draft, all that good stuff. That's just going to up his game. Yeah, maybe it'll take a few shot attempts away from him. Hopefully, right? Hopefully they'll have some other guys that can shoot. But the better the talent, the better he will play. And he elevates guys. He elevated Plumlee when he was in there. He elevated younger guys when he's on the floor. So he's still going to continue to do that. But I think to Doug's point is big, because how fast can he get back in this offseason? It just seems like every time he had no like mini rookie camp. He had, so there's always been a bump in the road. He had no summer league. He will never have a summer league. So he's got to be able to add some stuff in the offseason when he can. It's just how fast can he get back to that?
All right, Doug, where do you want to take us now? Do you want to, because one of the things David said there that I noted was his making Mason Plumlee better. That can also translate into making Mark Williams better, right? Your 1st round pick, those guys running a pick and roll game. That's going to be something exciting for the future. Where do you want to take us?
And we started to see that develop.
Yeah.
But that's going to take time to develop that rhythm. It took time for him to figure out Mason Plumlee. But he's had a lot of, he's had a lot of options at center. And I don't think any of them have flashed the potential that we've seen with Mark Williams so far. I think, if he can get some time with Mark before this season really kicks off, that would be awesome, because it means they're going to be in a rhythm, right from the jump. And does he get some more shooting help around him? I think that would also help. I want to see him in the 3-point contest. I want to see him. I want to see him in All-Star Weekend in the 3-point, because I don't think he could be the greatest shooter of all time unless you hoist up a 3-point shooting contest trophy. But I wonder if they'll have to move the basketball rack back a little bit. If he'll have to request, because he's got to take the deep 3. That's where he's most potent.
See, that's why they need him in there. They need that showmanship. And he needs to be like, wait, guys, no, I need 4 ball.
Before he walks out. Yeah, he's like, right. No, pull him back.
That would be amazing to see. Let's look at the defense just real quickly and go into cleaning the glass as well. I at least want to give some numbers here, so it's not just like, okay, we're just hating on his defense without anything to back it up. Look, this is why it's bad, right? If you go to the points per possession, according to cleaning the glass for the Charlotte Hornets when he's on the floor, they are in the 14th percentile with him on the floor. They are plus 4.6 points per 100 possessions with him on the floor. And so that is way down on the list. You look at the effective field goal percentage that they allow, they're in the 9th percentile when he's on the floor. And also, I think what's more troubling here is the fact that when you look what happened post All-Star break, even with the welcomed excuse. Like, I understand the excuse of fresh legs, of young guys just flying out there, playing against teams that either weren't good, barely playing for the play-in or playoffs, or had just already checked out. I mean, I understand that part of the schedule as well. That matters. But also, it's a pretty dramatic increase when you're talking about best defensive rating going into that OKC game at the end of the year. I think they finished third in defensive rating, however much stock you want to put into it. And then you're talking about best transition defense, too, at the end of the season. So I think that's the part to note. It's that there was such a dramatic increase. Now, that wasn't all just without LaMelo, right? You didn't have Terry playing late. You know, you had a couple of different guys that were out. Kelly wasn't there. You know, even PJ at the very, very end wasn't playing in those last 5 games. But LaMelo, when he was on the floor, the defense hurt. So, Doug, I'll go to you. Just, you know, what do you want? Is there anything specifically that you want to see from LaMelo more so? And how much of this is just always going to be a give and take thing with him because he has so much offensive responsibility?
Honestly, I don't think he has to do all that much more. Steve Clifford talked about the fact that, you know, again, in that little 5 or 6 game stretch before he got hurt, he was starting to pick some things up defensively. I think he needs time, you know, with Steve Clifford's system, time that he didn't really have last season. He seems to have the ear of Steve Clifford and the respect from Steve Clifford. It seems to be going both ways, so I think they can learn a lot from one another. I think he's just got to cut down some of the fouling. You know, again, a lot of the fouling was frustration, but some of it too was the fact that he wasn't keeping his man in front, and so then he would try to recover and get like a little chase down strip or chase down block and end up fouling his guy. And so, you know, if you can just work to keep that guy in front just a hair more, because here's the thing, you know, you probably needed to be a shutdown guard when you had Mason Plumlee down low, because Plumlee was giving you almost zero rim protection. But now you're going to be playing with Mark Williams, who can swat some basketballs every now and then. And so, like, when you have that force, you don't have to stay in front for so long. So if he can just buy them a little bit more time, and honestly, like, you know, the tough part for me in evaluating his defense is that he's playing alongside Terry Rozier, someone that also is not a staunch defender. Like, if he was doing this alongside, you know, a guard that was committed to the defensive end of the floor and he was obviously the issue, you know, that would be one thing. But I just think there were just a rolling series of issues defensively for this team that I'm not willing to put all on LaMelo. I think if he cuts down on some of the mistakes, that would overall improve the defense when you consider some of these other factors that they're going to be adding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would love to see him be a little bit more of a lockdown defender. And he's not going to get to the lockdown defender level, but you got to think about, he's probably never been asked or certainly been challenged to be any type of defensive presence up until probably he got to the NBA, and probably not a lot before Steve Clifford got here, to be honest with you. So
remember, we had the cherry picking video from Chino Hills when he was like a freshman or a sophomore.
Well, who's he going to guard? Yeah, when he's a 90-pound freshman, you know what I mean? And he's not guarding any of those Australian professional players either.
Well, but that's a good point, David. And going back to something you said in the first segment, he's got to get stronger. And I think if he gets stronger, the coaching staff will challenge him. I think there's a tendency not to put him on certain matchups, to hide him defensively, because you look at him and you go, I don't, you know, if Tatum goes one-on-one with this guy, he's just gonna bump and grind him and get to the rim too easily. But if he gets stronger, that's going to challenge the coaching staff to challenge him a little bit more. Because if you go into, you know, stuff like not Basketball Reference, the other basketball site that we use, and that breaks down like the matchups, LaMelo is not even being hidden. Like, you can't even find him on defense. They're trying to put him on the like third best offensive player on the other team. And so that's what I would like to see more of, is him getting some better matchups and challenge him to stay in front.
Right. Yeah.
All right, let's go to the last segment. We're going to get David's thoughts on what the news dump with Miles Bridges on Friday, that he would be suspended a total of 30 called by the NBA, but also just 10 next year. And then another topic coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Don't go to sleep on the Hornets just yet.
B-Ball Index. B-Ball Index is the website that I was trying to think of.
Yeah, we're going to talk about B-Ball Index. We're also going to talk about Malik Monk, big topic of conversation on Twitter. Malik Monk balling against the Golden State Warriors in the first round of the playoffs right now. So a lot of Hornets fans feeling some type of way. And then a lot of Hornets fans also saying this was the right move to let Malik Monk go at that time. We'll get to that in the last segment. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. It's a daily fantasy app where you can pick 2 to 6 players, and if they score more or less than their PrizePicks projection, you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. Plus, there's no competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available, and they offer projections on really any sport you watch. That includes the NBA, the NFL, MLB, WNBA. When men's and women's college basketball is in season, you can bet on that as well. Esports, I already said WNBA, but you can bet on it twice if you want. That's fine. NASCAR, tennis, MMA, so many other sports included. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. Safe and fast withdrawals, and they're currently operational in over 30 states and even Canada. Download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. If you deposit $100, PrizePicks gives you $100. If you deposit $50, they give you $50. Don't forget to enter promo code Locked On and sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. One more segment to go. Locked On Hornets.
This is Locked On Hornets.
I'm a fantastic Googler. I'm bad at logging in. If they were to do sort of a scouting report of me and my ability to use the internet.
Todd.
Yeah,
Excellent Googler, not a very good guy that's logging in. Very good at interrupting the host anytime he's trying to go on a rant.
It's time for more of the Locked On Hornets podcast.
David, we have you on here to kick off LaMelo, but you also got to talk about the hard stuff, too. That's the problem with jumping on to do a player recap about LaMelo Ball. We did have Miles Bridges get suspended for 10 games next season. The NBA gave Miles Bridges a 30-game suspension total, with 20 having already been served last year for his arrest, felony domestic violence that took place really before the new league year kicked in with the kickoff of free agency this past offseason. It's something that Mitch Kupchak alluded to. He thought it might go into July, go past July 1st in that deadline, but really, shortly after that, we did get this news for his role in that, in those alleged incidents, again, with Michelle Johnson, as we talked about as well. Any thoughts from you on Miles Bridges and whether he comes back to the Hornets, just whatever thoughts you had based off this suspension?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly feels like all signs are pointing towards them attempting to re-sign him and bring him back. He's posting now new workout videos, and he's got plenty of Hornets gear on, as do the guys working him out. So, I mean, it feels like the team has always been keeping that door open for him. It feels like they didn't have a backup plan because they clearly did not have a backup plan when all this went down. And they've backed themselves into a bit of a corner, just saying that now we kind of have to do this. And so that's both the reality and I think a lot of blame perhaps goes on the team for that. They just never really had a backup plan, over the 12 months of this going on. And so now I think they're kind of back to where they were before this all started, like that he would be a piece. Maybe they think they can still get him at some sort of discount for whatever, versus whatever they were going to sign him when all this took place. And I think people that are disappointed that he may return to the team clearly have every right to be that way. I think as a sports fan, when you see teams have an issue with a player like this, with domestic violence in particular, you would hope, at least I think, you guys, and I think I hope that wouldn't be your team, is that you would say, yes, people deserve second chances, but it's going to have to be somewhere else. And so that's just going to be something that the fans and the team, the media, everyone is going to have to deal with this if he does end up returning. And I mean, that's a thing. I still don't know how the team is going to handle this. There just wasn't much talk league-wide about this for various reasons. Obviously, the team, stood on the fact that the NBA was doing their investigation. They couldn't talk about it. But there, at some point, they're going to have to speak to it. I'm sure Miles is going to have to speak to it if he rejoins this team or when he rejoins a team. But from a Hornets perspective, I think this at some point was their plan all along. They kind of stuck it out. And, there's so many questions. You think he'd be able to come back and play if you're just talking about specifically basketball. But you guys mentioned it last week. The length of time he hasn't played, who knows? I mean, nothing's certain. So I think this whole thing has just been a year-long issue for them. And certainly, again, your thoughts go out to the victim and everyone involved. But I just think it's been something that the Hornets never really figured out how to give themselves any option. And now they're stuck kind of going back to where they were.
Yeah, just any thoughts from you, Doug, real quickly before we move on about the video? Is there anything to take note of the Miles Bridges video released? He was in Charlotte Hornets gear when he was, when he put out that video, the timing of it, anything at all? Or do we just move on because it's just what Miles Bridges and I guess Clutch decided to do?
Yeah, I think that whole thing has been interesting, right? We've seen little videos pop up really through this whole period. We've seen him in workout videos, usually posted by other entities, not really posted
Yeah, he's
by
been in the background, right? So all of this goes back to him releasing a video after the arrest. Everybody's like, what in the hell are you doing? And then they don't do it anymore.
Right.
But I believe Draymond Green, there have been multiple incidents of somebody posting workout or open run and Miles Bridges in the background. We would see him in the background. So those are the videos we'd see him on.
Yeah, and I think you can also connect this to those rumors around Christmas time and into, then the team denied the rumors after New Year's. That the team was in negotiations, and these were coming from Woj and Shams. I mean, these were coming from the big boys in the news breaking industrial complex, which means they were coming from agents.
Right.
And so, it seems like there have been a couple of incidents now where the Hornets have been involved and may not be ready to be involved. And I don't know. I don't think that's going to really influence anything down the line. But if negotiations between the team, whenever they can take place, I guess that would take place June 30th or whatever that date is that you can begin. And I think that's what Mitch was saying, by the way, on the July 1st. Not that the decision would take until July 1st, but now that once the decision crossed the threshold of free agency, now they've got to wait until June to even have a discussion with Miles. Once that takes place, do those negotiations, are they harmed by any of that? I don't think they will be, but if the negotiations break down all of a sudden, you can look back to some of these incidents and go, well, this was handled pretty aggressively.
Yeah. All right. So we'll see what happens with Miles Bridges this offseason. The idea is that he'll sign with the Charlotte Hornets, but who knows at this point. We'll keep you updated on everything there as we go along. All right, let's have the Malik Monk conversation here. He's been a topic of conversation on Twitter. He's been playing very well in the first two games, the first two wins for the Sacramento Kings against the Golden State Warriors. And now Charlotte Hornets fans are coming out of the woodwork from 2 years ago saying that the Hornets should have kept Malik Monk. And a lot of backlash towards those fans that are saying the Hornets should have kept Malik Monk. I know Nada has been a warrior on the Charlotte Hornets front out there. My guy, at Nada the Scribe, we love him so, an OG, a family member of the podcast. Doug, I'm going to put this in your lap, and you take us wherever you want to go as well.
Well, just all I would say is congrats to Malik Monk. I'm super happy for him. I'm absolutely 100% ecstatic that he has gotten this third opportunity and he's taking advantage of it. And that's all I think any of us that were true fans of the Charlotte Hornets, that's all we wanted to see while Malik Monk was in Charlotte. We just didn't get an opportunity to see it. And I don't think that we ever would have seen it. I think every player has to go through a journey of some kind, and whether that journey takes place with the same team or whether it has to happen over several locations, they've got to go through that process. And sometimes they get it, and sometimes they don't. They wash out of the league. Luckily, or fortunately, Malik Monk put in the work. He figured it out. But look, he had to go on a vet minimum contract to Los Angeles before he got this opportunity. It wasn't like there were teams lining up to take advantage of the fact that the Hornets let go of Malik Monk. All the other teams understood that, hey, this guy is he's on the line between complete washout and could be something. and it took him getting to Sacramento. So salute, but it wasn't going to happen in Charlotte.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, David. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was just going to say I'm not happy for Malik Monk.
That's right.
I'm upset that it didn't happen.
You wanted it to happen in Charlotte.
Yeah. I want to happen in Charlotte. No, it is cool to see him. I mean, it's, of course, you expect the flack and the backlash and he was miserable in Charlotte or whatever. I think I did mention that, or I replied to Nada on Twitter that there's not much mention of the Lakers in this whole thing, but I don't think they had his bird rights. So I think there was some disadvantage they had into bringing him back. And he really
they were in
earned
Russell Westbrook hell too, trying to figure out.
Yeah, I mean, the only people that knew that was going to happen in LA were Walker and LeBron. I mean, they were the only ones.
I knew it was going to happen.
Right.
What do you want me to say?
You guys just know. You guys,
Oh my God,
you guys
get
have been in this
outta here,
game
that
long
guy.
enough to know, basketball IQ on the court, and it was a no brainer. Doug, you can't resist that, can you? Go ahead.
Well, no, I was just thinking like the Monk situation, I think highlights one of the challenges of team building in today's NBA, which is you are drafting guys that are, and this is going to come up in this draft because I mean, I think it has a record number of like freshmen or people out of the G League or whatever. And like you're drafting guys at 18 or 19 years old, and then you have to make a decision 3 to 4 years later. And again, thinking about it, like this is typically, these guys would be 2 or 3 more years seasoned when they came into the league, I don't know, 5-10 years ago. Now you're bringing in guys and then you have to make a decision on that first contract all of a sudden. And it's like, oh man, we don't know if this guy's going to go one way or the other. I mean, it's, I don't envy Mitch Kupchak in those kinds of decisions to say, all right, I'm going to take the risk here, give this guy a lot of money and hope that in another 2 or 3 years, he figures it out.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And it seems like that number's only going up, right? I mean, these kids, there was a kid yesterday who signed for the G League for 2 years, right? I guess he graduated high school early. He's 17. So he's going to be playing in the G League for 2 years. I don't know what that does for you, but Nada was huge mentioning just that sometimes, the person needs to go through growing. The team needs to go through growing. Like sometimes it's much better for those two factions to go their separate ways so that each one can move on and flourish or go down a different path. But I'd also just like to note that, I think when Monk was drafted, it was certainly the expectation that he would blossom into a starter.
We thought plug and play. We thought this was a plug.
Because of the shooting ability. Because of the
people
shooting
thought
ability,
we were going
play.
to see immediate impact, and then we didn't. And maybe those, that's a great question. Like, had Malik Monk come in and we all said, similar to what we're doing with Kai Jones right now, if we had said, well, this guy's a raw prospect, it's going to take 3-4 years, would things have turned out differently? I'm not sure because, again, Malik Monk came in, I think, with a certain level of confidence about his game. And when that didn't match the result that was happening on the court, I think that's when, some of the personal problems started to leak in. And then, things kind of got off the rails from there.
Yeah. And so, look, my thing about Malik Monk, I've always been the one that was angry letting him go. I did not want to let him go. I've always disconnected with everybody on that front. And I understand that he had immaturity issues, and I get it, right? It was not a slam dunk. I'm not going to act like it was a slam dunk to keep him. But I saw enough from Malik. Some people don't. I missed on Devontae. I thought we should keep him. Clearly, they shouldn't have done that. So whatever, like we miss or hit. I thought with Malik, what I do get a little frustrated by is when it couldn't happen in Charlotte, right? The fact that we see this growth from Malik, that he goes to the Lakers. And by the way, it's not like he's performing well with Sacramento. And now the only reason we're having this conversation now is because it's on a national stage and it's in the playoffs against Golden State. Dude was awesome in more minutes with the Lakers, higher percentages, same amount of points. He was really good with the Lakers last year. It's just that the Lakers weren't going to win the championship and they didn't get the 3 seed like Sacramento did. And now Malik is balling out. And so if you go back even to that last year that he had in Charlotte, he shot really well from 3, shot 40%. And then if you look back at the 30 games he played, what happened in that last season, we had an ankle injury and he was balling. Okay. Like he was shooting 46% from field. He was shooting 42% from the 3. And then he had that ankle injury in April. And then the last 10 games comes in and does not play well. He played, the last like 9-10 games, whatever it was, his last year in Charlotte, didn't play well. And then he goes for a vet min, which clearly states that the NBA everybody wasn't lining up at the door to go get him. But for me, I thought I had seen enough to the point where, all right, well, it couldn't happen in Charlotte. Well, we made damn sure of that. Like vet minimum, a guy you draft, a guy that was actually playing very well before the injury. You made damn sure of it. And so now he goes to a different team and he grows up. And so it's just like you can't win, right?
But the Hornets would not have been able to retain him on a vet min. Is what I'm saying. Like, in that situation.
And that's fine. Yeah. Like if Malik just wanted to go, I understand that too. But also, it was pretty clear.
It was two coaches, two regimes came in and said, can't play this guy.
Well, yeah, and Steve Clifford, very young, right? I mean, how many years did he play with Clifford? 1?
Right, and Borrego came in and really hitched his – we talked about this, Borrego came in and hitched his wagon to Monk and then said, oops, I can't – this guy's defensively a disaster and inconsistent offensively and sometimes takes 15 shots and then sometimes pulls the Kobe and decides not to take one shot at all. Like, those are the issues. I will say this. I don't know if it's the national TV, like ESPN cameras, because I don't get to see Hornets on those cameras very much, but he looks bigger. Like he looks bulkier. Like those national TV cameras in a good way, like in a strong, like he looks way bigger than he did in his Charlotte days.
Yeah. Well, guys, if they advance and the Lakers advance, it will be Malik Monk revenge series. So that'll be interesting to see.
Well, and like I know we've had this debate before. Like I know you're saying like it's two coaches with Steve Clifford and James Borrego, but also you could make that decision yourself. Like so, it's like okay, well if he goes and he plays better, then it never could have happened in Charlotte. But if he would have gone and he would have sucked, then it's like okay, well we were right to leave him. Like there's
what could you? But hold on, but could you? I know chaos theory wouldn't have happened this way, but could you imagine Borrego? They keep Malik Monk and they take Borrego and say, all right, you got to go, and then they go to Kenny Atkinson. And Kenny Atkinson does what Kenny Atkinson does. And then they go, all right, Malik, we got to bring Steve Clifford back. And Steve Clifford is Malik Monk's coach again. Like that would have been amazing.
Well, and that honestly, that's a point for the people that thought Malik Monk should go. I will say Malik, when they first matched up again this year, Sacramento and Charlotte, Malik did go to Steve and said, hey, I had to mature. I had to grow up. Right. And I understand a lot of what you were saying. Look at Doug with his, it's so mature.
You don't hear that mentioned. I mean, look, I've never been more excited. I've never been more excited on a draft night than I was when Malik Monk fell to the Hornets. That was a live show in the old studio, Doug, and it was a very exciting night. And we didn't have too many more.
Last thing I'll say is this: bottom line is Charlotte let a draft pick out the door that's helping somebody win a playoff series right now. Like that's what's happening. So that sucks to see somebody
so you're
play.
Saying Bouknight, just keep Bouknight and whomever for.
Hey, but James Bouknight way worse than Malik Monk.
Yeah.
What a whew. You point to any of the 39% shooting from 3 or 40, and I'll maybe think about it. But we haven't seen that. All right, that'll do it for Locked On Hornets. We appreciate everybody hopping on with us and making us your first listen. We also appreciate David Walker for hopping on with us every single week. The Duke of Dunk today, but he could be something different tomorrow. We'll have to find out. Make your second listen game to game NBA every moment, every top performance, every result. Locked On Game to Game covers every game from across the league with local analysis that only Locked On can deliver. Follow Game to Game on Locked On NBA, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Have a great rest of your day. We'll be back with you tomorrow.